Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast Sunday service, and obviously we are live at the moment on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I think that's it actually. So if you are joining the chat, please do so. Firstly, before we discuss anything to do with the team, the most important piece of news is I have a double negative, so I'm free and I'm allowed out. Yay! And I have been annoying my family all morning by singing something that will become very clear later on. But I've been wandering around the whole house singing, Mike is going out with a double negative. Mike is going out with a double negative, a double negative. So I won't sing anymore, I promise. And anyone who hasn't switched off so far joining me today is Ragnar. Hello, Ragnar. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine.
Good. So you support us from afar. You're supporters in Norway club.
Yeah, in northern Norway actually. So
in northern Norway, sorry.
yeah. That's all right.
So tell us a little bit about how you came to start following Sutton, how you heard about Sutton, what brought us to your attention.
Actually, my mother's cousin used to live in Sutton, so I used to go there on holiday. You used to go there on holiday. So
excellent.
That's why it started, I think.
Yeah, excellent. That's great news, because we chatted briefly backstage, and you sort of mentioned that you've been supporting us since sort of 2017.
Yes, yeah.
Which would have been the year of the big FA Cup run.
Yeah,
but it's good to know there's something even deeper back than that. So have you managed to get over to watch a game yet, or not?
No,
not
hopefully I will come the last home game of the season.
Yes, the last home game of the season.
April 30th.
Yeah,
I guess Bradford.
Absolutely, yeah, that'll be a big game, hopefully. But we will quickly little chat about yesterday's game.
Yeah.
And a few little bits around it. We kind of going up fairly confident. I felt fairly confident. I know the team are a little bit not running on empty yet, but we're getting towards there. But how were you feeling going into the game? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think we've done great so far, and I just think no, I was just watching the first half yesterday. That was a great half, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
Two wonderful goals and
fantastic goals. I know.
Had a bit of luck because Carlisle hitting the post, but
yeah, you need a little bit of luck. But we also had a little bit of bad luck with Richie towards the very end, and I think Rob had a corner that was clawed out, and I think there was another good chance in the first half as well. That so we could going in at half time. 3-4 and out of sight. But a little bit of not shocks, but before the game it was a bit mixed up with the squad rotation. We obviously there was no Will, which was a bit of a surprise. No Omar, which is another surprise. So kind of threw us a little bit with that. But obviously Matt's explained afterwards that Will is okay, but it was just felt not worth risking him, especially as Enzio has been playing so well the last couple of games. And then Omar just woke up feeling a bit under the weather, which actually, in hindsight, brilliant. Sorry, Omar, if you're listening, but the fact that Richie managed to get on and play out of his skin yesterday. What did you think of his performance in the first half?
Yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, no, I thought I don't think he missed a header. I think he won every aerial battle he had. And then of course he threaded that beautiful ball in for Dave's goal. Which I think came after a series of some quick direct passing, but not long ball. Absolutely not. And I know Matt alluded to the fact that people tend to call us a long ball team, which is fine because
the play in front of the second goal was just brilliant. So.
Yeah, it was absolutely
and that pass through was genius. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That Freddie pass was absolutely lovely, and I heard it on iFollow because we don't get to watch it live, but I heard it on iFollow, and when I saw the highlights, I was like, oh, and I think it might have been Gandamonium or someone had said, chef's kiss with mwah. And it was just absolutely beautiful goal.
It was.
Yeah. So, I mean, I did enjoy the fact, and I did put it out there, that it was a nice, comfortable 2-0 win. It was kind of got the goals, got the job done, moved on. None of this hanging on to the last 90 seconds nonsense. It was lovely. And I'm sure in the first half you may have heard this, and you would have heard it on social media since. But I've managed to get the video, and this is why I've been going around singing that stupid song all morning. So the Sutton fans' new chant, which is genius. But 1 second.
Sun's going up with a tenner in the bank, a tenner in the bank. Tenner in the bank. Sun's going up with a tenner in the bank.
You'll see I edited it ever so slightly to cut out the first bit, just so it's safe for work, everyone. So I hope you appreciate that. But yeah, the genius of we're going up with a tenner in the bank because we're skint, we're broke, we've got no money, but here we are battling it away with the big boys. Fourth, just right in the mix. How are you feeling about this stage of the season? What?
It's incredible. I think way over my expectations. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked to do something a bit later today, and one of the questions was, "Is this season beyond your wildest dreams?" And I'm laughing because the answer to that question is no, because my wildest dreams were not here. They were. If we ever got to the Football League, we might survive. We might stay up.
Yeah.
It was never going the other end of the table.
I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a lovely ride, and we are a funny bunch. I know there's been a few comments from different people this week who follow League Two and have accounts about League Two, laughing because we're right up there in the mix, and yet we're all still talking about the 50 points to stay safe. It is ingrained in Sutton supporters to just let's get 50 and then we'll talk about it. But hopefully we'll get to that 50 next week, and then we can just start reeling in Forest Green the week after, because we face Forest Green the week after. So we'll get this 50, and then we'll start having a bit of fun and concentrating elsewhere. I'm going to do the pod ever so slightly different this week. So what I'm hoping for is if you could give me a couple of players that you think are in the mix for the player of the day, and then I'll put it out on a little poll thing on Twitter, because that quite works. So I've got a couple of options myself, but did you have any thoughts about player of the day yesterday?
I think it was a team effort. I don't think anyone stood up. Okay,
so I've kind of made a little short list for myself, and I've got 4 on a short list, so it's basically half the team. I've got Ben, played immense. Then there's Richie, as I mentioned, he played absolutely fantastically out of his skin. Then we've got Isaac and David as well for the goals, the fantastic goals and huge work rate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that up on...
Yeah, well, Rich and Dave, I agree on actually.
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll pop that up as a little poll, and then the players can fight it out to decide who's the most popular. We'll see what's going on.
And of course, Isaac is always good.
Absolutely, yeah. This is where I think there's a bit of a struggle, because sometimes with these players, they've got such a standard that you can't notice when they're just keeping that same standard every single week. You can't pick them out because they're always doing it.
Yeah.
But very, very quickly, before we move on to the Bristol Rovers game, just wanted to say, obviously, the draw for the semi-finals have been made. What did you make of that? A fan from afar.
We're gonna win. It's not difficult, but we can make it. I think we can beat them.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I'm hoping that Wigan.
I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that Wigan have got bigger fish to fry, and they are concentrating on getting promoted to the Championship, and they then take us a little bit lightly, and we can do it. So then you might have to change your plans for a trip and come over to Wembley. Hopefully, we'll see.
yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they make it to the final, I'll consider it. Okay.
Absolutely. So we're going to just move on very quickly now to the next match, which thankfully is a week away, so everyone gets a little bit of a rest. And it's against Bristol Rovers. So joining me now is Lucy, who supports Bristol Rovers. Hey, Lucy.
Hello.
How are you?
Hello,
not
Lucy.
too bad. I'm a little bit jaded from last night. I can't lie. Celebrating the win, 90-minute winner. So yeah, I can't pretend that I felt 100%, my normal self. But that's kind of part and parcel of football, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And 90th minute, you took a leaf out of our book and decided to just go for it. 90th minute with a man down as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. So we had a man sent off after 30. I think it was like 35 minutes. 2 yellow cards. Luke Hall, who's one of our defenders, he's only 19. And I couldn't really see what happened, because I think both were kind of up the other end of the pitch or the other side to where I stand. So I didn't see either incident. But yeah, I was surprised. I mean, there was definitely some challenges going in before that I thought were bookable, and ref didn't book her, but that's always the name of the game.
Yeah, it's one of those that it always seems unfair that the ref tots it up in their head when there's like 3 or 4 challenges, and then the next one they're booking. It's like, well, hang on, that's not fair. You only did one of them.
No, I know.
But 2 yellows is a hard one, because I don't think you can appeal that, can you?
No, he won't be able to play. We haven't got a midweek game, so he won't be able to play next Saturday.
Okay, that's good.
But we've got strength and depth, so it's not an issue.
So how I mean, I know we played you earlier in the season, and the other game was postponed, but how's your season going so far compared to your expectations?
Well, definitely up to, I'd say, like December time, it was quite disappointing. Very inconsistent. So we'd win one and lose one, win one and lose one. And that kind of was the story of the season before as well, before kind of when Joey took over in February. But it was like a catalogue of errors. Like last season was just dreadful. We were bottom of the league. We went down. But then I don't know if it's because you've had injuries and then COVID, and we've kind of had a break. But since December time, obviously January, we've been actually better. We've looked more consistent, playing good football, and I don't know, maybe something's clicked. We definitely we look a better outfit than when we actually played you in December, I would say. We've got players that score in. We have got a couple of injuries, but not major ones anymore. We've got most of our players back. So actually kind of having a bit of a COVID break does us a bit of a favour. So yeah, it's been a bit of a weird time. And I mean, at the moment we are in the last 5 games we've picked up 13 points out of 15. And the only draw coming last Saturday at Swindon, and we actually deserve more than a point. Obviously it was a well-earned point, but we deserve more than that. So yeah, it's strange, and obviously to play you then back to back. I think we play you on the 5th and then on the 15th. Yeah. So it's going to be one of those ones that if say whatever the result is on the first game, I wouldn't be surprised if it's different on the second game.
Yeah. Well, as you were saying all this little renaissance and doing well, I was sitting there thinking, this sounds exactly at the time you played us and beat us and then has gone on this little run. So you're welcome, by the way, Bristol fans.
Yeah.
you're welcome for that.
Yeah.
But obviously, we up until this season, we've operated in completely different spheres. We've never come across each other. So what did you know about Sutton, hear about Sutton before this season? Were we even
I knew like little bits. I'd obviously knew of the club, and I think it's probably like you and like doing my like the FA Cup or something, and like hearing like the name, was it like Gander Goose or something?
Gander Green Lane, yeah.
Ground. So yeah, and then obviously last season I was flying at the top of the league, went up, and I was like, oh well, that's going to be a new team to play against. And yeah, I didn't really know too much, to be honest. But that's kind of a good thing, because if you don't really know too much about a club, you can kind of know, like, get to know them. But yeah, it would have been one of those ones where it would have been the first one I've asked is my granddad, because he's been to most grounds in the country. Well, I've been to most grounds in the country, and I'm sure he would have been like, oh yeah, we played Sutton in such and such, or I know. He would have told me a story about if we'd ever gone to Sutton or we played Sutton or something. And he would have told me a story about when we would have played each other, because that was sort of when we used to go to away games together, especially on the coach. We'd go to random places, and he would tell me a story about how we've gone to, I don't know, Walsall, because we played them last night. And he's like, oh yeah, I went to Walsall in 1979, so we won 3-1, and this person scored, and this happened, and I'll be like, but how can you remember that? I mean, when my friends say I've got pretty good knowledge, but his knowledge was just immense.
And they're all the stories you roll your eyes at, going, oh yeah, but actually when you look back, you're like, when they're
not
amazing.
there anymore, you miss that knowledge.
They're amazing stories. Yeah. So will you be coming down yourself?
I'm not actually. I'm really gutted actually, because obviously you've got your away attendance is obviously quite limited, and there was like 400 tickets. And it went so quickly, and it's a shame, because especially when you're doing well, you want to go. So I'm not. I'm actually going away instead. I'm going to go and watch a non-league game in Manchester myself. But I'll definitely be following with a close eye. So I am actually gutted about not going, but. Yeah. I think it'll be a good game. I mean, obviously I've seen your form, and up in the top 6, top 7, which is brilliant. So I know we're not going to be, we're not going to rest on our laurels, and we're going to be facing, tough opponents. So I think it'll be a good game. But our form at the moment is good as well. So that's the games you want. You want two teams that are actually doing well to play a good game of football. It's like when we played Swindon, there was like some good football in the game, rather than Walsall, who, no offense, weren't great, and there was a lot of hoofball with them yesterday, and that's kind of one of those things that when you play teams that aren't doing so well, you kind of get dragged into that type of football. I think Ragnar wants to come in with a very important point of something you just said there. So what was you saying, Ragnar?
Top 4, not top 6.
Oh, sorry.
So we've got to cling on to these little things.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I knew you were third. Going into yesterday's game, and I was like, I was looking at the team. I was looking at the table. I was like, blimey. I was like, we've obviously both kind of helped each other out in that.
That's what we keep doing.
Shame for you. Obviously, it's great for us to win, and then you lost, but. You probably were quite happy, because we didn't get a very good tie afterwards anyway.
Yeah. Well, we keep looking at the table going blimey as well, because unbelievable. The away allocation, I think, is 480 something at the moment. I know you've been very generous on it, but I know lots and lots of fans get stroppy because we're a small club and we've only got a small allocation. But what people have to remember is this club and this ground is 100 odd years old, and it was never meant to actually have league football. It was a non-league ground, and it was perfectly adequate for our needs. And then our needs suddenly dramatically changed. There's works planned, and I think they've just started, which this could be horribly wrong, because I do get things horribly wrong. But I'm vaguely hearing that the allocation was about 1,200, I think, once we've got it all done.
Amazing.
So that will be a lot better in the future seasons. Hopefully we get to, well, I'm sure we'll stay, but we'll get our 50 points. So we're hoping to get our magic milestone 50 points I don't know how much you see on Twitter, because Sutton fans are just a weird bunch, and all we've been doing is all season, it's been going well. We've been in the top couple, doing really, really well all season, and all we ever talk about is let's get to 50 points, let's get to 50 points to get the survival. And then once we've got there, we'll have fun.
I guess coming up from the conference or National League, whatever it's called now, teams are going to be looking and think, well, they're probably going to go down. But you've more than competed. And, I get, Magic 50 is always something that everyone wants to reach, whatever league you're in, or apart from the Premier League, obviously, where it's Magic 40. But yeah, and that's the thing. If you're going to achieve it by beginning of February with 3 months to go of the season, then who knows where you're going to go?
Well, I've got my little really optimistic hat, and I'm saying now, right, well, if we can get the 3 points from you guys, I know you don't want that, but if we get the 3 points from you guys, we've got Forest Green the next match. We'll start reeling them in now. Once we get our 50, we're going to go, right, that's it. We'll go for it.
As much as it pains me to say. I mean, they played, was it Tranmere yesterday, was second before the game, and
4-0.
bagged them 4-0. I think sometimes you've got to kind of put your hands in the air and say, team's clearly good this year. And
don't worry, we'll dent their confidence for everyone. Don't worry.
Yeah, well, that's right. If they reel it back in, then there's 7 places up for grabs. Then in the top 3 and the top 7.
So just before we sort of finish on the game, if I could ask you both if you want to give us a little prediction. So I'll start with you, Ragnar. What do you want to go for as a prediction of the match?
2-0.
2-0 Sutton. Okay.
2-0 Sutton.
Lucy?
I'm also going to go 2-0. I'm going to go 2-0 Rovers.
Ooh,
obviously.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to go with Sutton. I'm not going to go with a draw just to sit on the fence. I'm going to go with Sutton, but I'm going to say that this will be a bit more of an open game, and I'm going to say that we're going to reverse the score that we did in the cup. So I'm going to go 3-2 Sutton, just because I'm going to be there, and it will be my heart won't be able to take it. They like putting us through the ringer. But the other reason, and honestly, when I asked you to come on as a Bristol Rovers fan, it was to talk about Bristol Rovers. And then yesterday at the game, it was announced that in the Carlisle match was the HerGameToo dedicated match. I genuinely didn't know that when I asked you on it. Just one of those little moments that lines up. Obviously, with Sutton, the question has been asked several times: when are we getting involved in this? I think there is a little bit of leeway and forgiveness to our guys, because we are going at 100 miles an hour to get up with all the things that we kind of need to do. Not that this doesn't need to be done, but it's a thing of we have these things that we have to tick off to go, that job's done, and then we can stop and relax and go, right, now what else do we want to do? But I've had a brief discussion with some other people, but tell us a little bit more about it. I know you were instrumental, and I can't believe actually that I saw this on Twitter at almost the start of the whole process. So I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember why. I think Kaz came up something on my Twitter feed, and I kind of followed her, and then from there followed you. And I was seeing some of the stories, and next thing this movement was gone. I was like, oh, I've never heard about that. And then found out afterwards that actually I've never heard about it, because it's not even a year old yet, is it?
No. We're a year old in May, which is kind of crazy to think about. Yeah, so obviously HerGameToo was set up launched on FA Cup final day. We just wanted to do a video really just highlighting our experiences. So all the girls involved, myself included, have had sexist comments for being female football fans. So obviously me and Kaz are both Rovers fans, and she had a bit of an incident back in, I think it was January of last year, where she tweeted about result of another team, not in our league. I think they lost like 7-1 or something, and she said, oh, what's the point of them being in that league? They're losing every week. And it was just an opinion. She was kind of, she had friends that supported that specific team, so she was kind of, having a bit of a joke, like football banter. But the tweet ended up getting a lot of retweets and likes, and then there was like sexist comments coming in going, oh, you know nothing about football because you're a girl, like get back to the kitchen, and then like really personal, vicious comments about the way she looks and stuff, and it really had a detrimental effect on her mental health. And then And from there, it was kind of like in April time, she came to me and said, do you feel like there's a campaign out there for sexism in football? And I thought about it, and I said, not really. I said, I don't think I'm aware of one. And then she said, well, why don't we do a video highlighting our experiences? And I said, yeah, absolutely. So we got the other girls, kind of got together a list of girls who we knew and followed and started to talk about their experiences. And they all said yes. So Kaz went and approached them. They all said yes. And then we decided to launch the video on FA Cup final day, and it went viral. It's probably the easiest way to explain it. The video got 1 million views in 24 hours, which is just beyond anything we could have ever imagined. And then we did obviously a survey just to see, what other people's experiences were. And that was kind of where we realised like we needed to take this to the clubs, because on the survey, over 90% had seen sexist abuse towards a female in football, and over 60% had experienced it themselves, either in the pub or at match or online, which is a very significant figure. So that's why I went to the clubs to say, would you want to partner with us? Like, this is what we want to have in place, like a pledge against sexism, a reporting number in place, and then just having like a presence of HerGameToo on the ground. But we want these partnerships to be long things. Like, we're looking at doing like an education piece in as time goes on and with more developed. But yeah, it's crazy. Like, every day, it's like doing 2 jobs, which sounds we are busy, but it's all a positive thing. And yeah, I'm just really, really proud of from something so awful, something so amazing is created. And like me and Cass both Rovers fans, and we've been watching games from 2006 with our respective families, and then gone together as the last couple of years. But yeah, I was really lucky as well. Like, my dad and my granddad took me to games, and they were so encouraging about my love of sport, love of football, obviously. That it didn't matter to them whether I was a girl or boy. If she liked football, and I've obviously liked football from a very, very young age. But yeah, and it's just kind of encouraging that younger generation, like obviously educating them firstly, but also kind of encouraging them to come to games and having that more like welcoming atmosphere. Like, it is inclusive, it is a game for all. So yeah, sorry.
No, absolutely not. One thing, well, there's a couple of things that I tried to make the point of it, and as I say, I get things wrong. But it's not about you and your mates having a laugh. Okay, you and your mates can say awful things to each other because you're mates. But it's about the fact that if I was to start saying awful things to you as a mate, that's suddenly not banter because we don't know each other. We've had a 2-minute chat now. We're not friends. I don't know anything about you, and yes, to hide behind this, it's banter, well, it's not. And I really wish I'd saved the tweet, but I saw someone, and it was a guy, and he tweeted something, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to remember that. And it was basically, listen, the banter is like sex. Basically, if the two of you are enjoying it and it's a laugh, fantastic. But if only one of you's doing it, that's basically having a wank. And so I was like, okay, yes, I'm going to keep this in my mind because, yeah, I can have a laugh with people, and I can be quite vicious to people about different things. But I'm always conscious of they have to know there's a taking the piss, because if there's some things I was saying to people in my workplace that if I ever went away thinking, if they thought for 1 second that I was being serious, I would be devastated. I'd be absolutely devastated. But Ragnar, I don't know if it's the same. Do you go to many games in Norway? Do you get this kind of thing? Because there was a case yesterday. I can't remember which team it was. Rochdale.
Rochdale. There was an incident at the Rochdale game. I need to look into it a little bit more. But yeah, it didn't sound very good. But that's the thing. That's why we've got the reporting system in place, so that these things can get reported and they can be. We obviously we don't want instances to happen, but when they do happen, we encourage fans to report it and talk about it. But yeah, like going back to what you were saying about how there's a fine line between like banter and then just being downright like sexist or offending someone. That's the thing. It's like someone could say to me like, Rovers are rubbish, and I'm like, yeah. I feel like, yeah, like especially in the last year, I'm like, yeah, I'm not offended by that because I'm like, yeah, I know. So we are. And but it'd be like someone, or I had a comment on a game, or I watched something and I thought it was a bad decision and it wasn't, and then someone said, oh, you got it wrong because you're a girl. That's the difference. That's the fine line between
not you got it wrong because you're a div.
Everyone can have an opinion on football, and none of us will get it right all the time, but it's the difference between having like a healthy debate about something compared to actually like being offensive to them, saying these comments.
Yeah. So sorry, Ragnar. I jumped back in. I didn't give you a chance to answer. Do you have this kind of same thing in Norway, where this sort of lad culture at football, or is it more family and everyone orientated?
It's more like family or everyone.
Yeah.
Everybody involved. So. Yeah. So I don't know much about that. Haven't heard much of it. So.
Well, that nicely brings me on to the other point I was going to just say, and I said this last time. I'm remarkably guilty of going to watch the football, and if I'm honest, I don't take an awful lot of notice of what's going on around me. So I think I'm a decent guy, and I think if I hear something, I'm going to do something about it. But as I said last time, I think what the other problem is if you came to me and said, well, actually, I was quite offended by what someone said, I'm automatically going to try and allay your fears and make you feel better by saying, no, they didn't mean it like that. And that's, over the last couple of years, something that's been sort of drilled home to me, that, no, you need to concentrate. I've got a 17-year-old daughter, and a lot of the things that I'm reading and hearing is just horrifying, not just in football, in everything. And yes, I'm well aware that maybe my eyes are only open to certain things because I'm looking through the eyes of, that's my little baby going out into the big wide world. But so for people like me who would say quite happily, well, we don't really have that problem at my club because I don't hear it, how do we get us on board? I know there's a lot more going on Twitter, and one thing about that game yesterday is I think every single tweet I saw calling out behaviour was from blokes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's more about being like an ally, and actually, like, if you do hear it, like, call it out. And like, it's even like if, say, like, you're having a chat with your mates and your mate said something that, even though there might not be any women around, but something that actually it is offensive, and actually being like, come on, like, what you're saying isn't great. Like, how would you feel if someone said it to your daughter or your sister or your aunt or whoever? And that's the thing. It's just about actually taking accountability of like what you're saying, and just calling people out on it. Obviously, it's I've heard it myself. I was at a game a couple of months ago, and we've got a female physio, and the comments I've been hearing or heard about her was just downright disgusting. And I was like, I'm sick of hearing it. And someone said it to me, or someone said it as she came on to tend to a player, and I was in earshot, and I actually turned around and I called it out. I was like, do you really think what you're saying is acceptable? I said, I said, she's just doing a job. She has to tend to the player who's injured. I was like, don't say that. And then I turned back around. The person didn't say anything, but I just felt in that moment that I needed to call it out, because even though I don't know how she feels, I don't know if she heard it. I know that when I'm sure she has heard things before, because you do, and she probably have things throughout her career, but she may not have heard it, but I heard it, and I was like, actually, I'm gonna stick up for her and say this isn't on, because it wasn't. And and that's the thing. We've had male physios for years and years and years, and no one would dare say a comment like that if he came on to tend to a player. So I was like, why should she be subjected to it?
Yeah, I mean, there's something that I was told many years ago in my workplace, and because we deal with customer service, and it was someone that was, again, it wasn't any kind of ist behaviour. It was just someone was quite abusive, and I was just, water for ducks back. I don't care. And someone stopped me and said, it's not about whether you can take it. It's about whether someone else can take it, because that behaviour is that person's gone off thinking that's okay to say it, but then they're going to get the next person, they'll say it, and that will really, really upset. So it's not, to link to your story, it's not to do with whether the physio can take it, because she probably can, but it's the next one down the line who might not be able to take it, might not be as thick-skinned. On that, I do have to admit, I did make a comment to, I had Catherine, our physio, on a little while ago, and we spoke a little bit about the HerGameToo thing, and I said, but actually, in realistic terms, I can say to you, it's the only time I can say to a woman, you are going to football to watch the men's bodies, because it is your job, and that's it. And there was a stunned moment of silence where she went, okay, you can just about get away with that, because technically that is right. My job is to look after them physically. But yeah, we you don't even need to say the comments. We know the stuff that people shout and say. But it's about being switched on, and as you say, calling it out. Not the great big shouting, screaming, saying you can't do that, but just a little comment of
it's more like actually like pulling them aside and being like, come on, like think about what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, if the fact that I don't hear it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, you know.
That's where I think, not a problem, but I think it is part of the issue. Is I will freely admit, I will sit and watch the game, and I don't hear what's going on in the next section along. We had an incident a few months ago now, where one of our players heard racist abuse at a game, and all the fans are there saying, "Well, I didn't hear it." It's like, come on, man. You're standing in a group of people. You might hear what's said by this guy or this guy or this guy, but you ain't going to hear what's said by that little group over there. You can't, because you're surrounded by people. So it's about the making sure you call it out, believing people as well, because it's when people say so and so said this to me, as I said, I will automatically be like, oh no, he wouldn't have meant that. It would have just been a joke. But actually, it's got to change to be, no, that's outrageous. I've got to say something. We've got to say that can't be said. And sometimes people don't realise what they're doing. People don't.
Yeah, they don't realise. That's the thing. They don't realise what they're saying, like, could offend someone. I know people are like, oh, that's, then you wouldn't say anything. I said, it's not about that. It's just actually just being a bit more mindful. That's all it is. Yeah.
I feel we need to find something happier to talk about. I've brought the tone down. No, it's a brilliant movement, and I've got to say, as I said, on the video, when I saw it, I did think it looked very polished. It was quite a real simple idea, actually, that passing of a piece of paper, but it works so well, and it looked really, really polished. And as I say, I thought I'd completely missed something, and I was like, oh, that's really, really odd. I've missed something so big.
Oh, they couldn't believe that it was just like, that was like the first thing that we did. That's the thing that we wanted to almost like to make that impact in terms of like, this is how we feel, or this is what we've experienced, but we just didn't know what was going to come after. We didn't know I think we just kind of wanted to highlight our experiences, and then we didn't know what was going to come next. And obviously what's come next is, now something that obviously definitely needed to be done. There's definitely something that we really recognise, like we definitely needed to happen. But also something that we will hope will obviously hopefully we get to a stage one day that we'll never need it anymore. But at the moment it's a good thing, because we're encouraging young girls to attend games, having the dedicated fixtures, having the reporting systems. So it's a real positive thing, and I'm really, really proud of us and what we've managed to achieve in 9 months. It's 8-9 months. It's just crazy. But yeah, no, I am from, like I said earlier, from something so horrible has come something so positive. I remember as our game around Christmas was supposed to happen, there was and I'm going to use inverted commas here to people who aren't watching the video, a brilliant tweet, because I think you guys were in one of the national papers, and then one of the comments almost straight away was something like a pair of munters who just can't get a fella, or something like that. I can't remember exactly I remember that one.
Yeah, and I was like, that almost, that could be your tagline for the whole campaign, because it's like, That's exactly what they're talking about, you idiot.
And that's it. When I saw that, I just had to laugh.
Yeah,
It's just like it's just that's the thing. It's almost laughable. That's the thing, and that's the thing. People think, oh, like we don't, we still do get comments. We've had comments, especially when it initially came out, like, oh, it doesn't happen. You're doing it for male attention. You're doing it to promote your own Instagrams, which is just daft. But then I think the thing that I found hard with at the beginning was people saying, like women saying, oh, I've never had it to me, so it doesn't happen. I'm like, well, that's great, but there are lots of people who have had it. So, and that's something I struggled with at the beginning, was like people who saying, oh, it doesn't happen to me, so it doesn't happen, and like denying the fact that it does. And then it's like, well, there's plenty of other people who have messaged us saying, yeah, this is my experience too, and being really open and honest to say that this is what's happened to me, which isn't easy, especially when we did the survey. Like, some of the results and some of the stories were really, really harrowing, really, really horrible. And that's the thing. It's just crazy to. I mean, some of those stories, if that had even half of that had happened to me, I wouldn't even go in football anymore, just because of what people went through. It was awful. But yeah, like, I mean, I remember the day after, somebody from a non-league club, like a media officer, quoted my tweet. I did quote in the video. I would say, oh, we were creating a problem that doesn't exist. And it was, that was quite funny, because I remember quoting it myself and saying, oh yeah, this guy says we're creating a problem that doesn't exist. And then all the replies afterwards was a bit like, come on, mate, like, you can quite clearly see that this does exist.
I mean, there's the list of things that doesn't necessarily affect you, but that happens.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't have to go very far. Just go to your local doctors and you see a list of all the illnesses going around. So you don't actually necessarily have. I've not had that, but I know it exists.
That is the nail on the head. Yeah, I thing I don't, or like you might have. Yeah, I mean, actually, I couldn't put that on myself. I really could have.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it was a great campaign. I mean, but this is the other thing: is people have to know that the group of you, and the two of you in particular, because obviously you two both go to the games together, and you're often posting up pictures together. You're not going to games looking for problems that don't exist. You're not looking for every comment that someone says to go, oh, I'm going to seize on that one word. You're going out to have a laugh with your mates.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the
And you want to go out and have a laugh with your mates the same as I want to go out and have a laugh with my mates, and not have the thing of, actually, you know what, this guy's making me feel uncomfortable because of not what he's doing. Obviously, if anyone's doing anything, it's going to be uncomfortable, but because what he's saying and some of the thoughts. And I've heard stories as well about people who don't want to report things or say things because some of the people are in their friendship group. So in not necessarily their friends outside of football, but in their football circle, and then it would kind of cause a little bit of friction amongst the group. So it's these kind of stories where people are going, well, no, it doesn't happen, because they don't want it to be happening. Maybe to be like, they don't want to think about their mates being like that. But it's a campaign that's only gone on a little while, but it's a long campampaign. I mean,
that's it.
I'm
we know
hopeful.
We've barely scratched the surface, and we know that this is just the beginning, and we know we have a long way to go, but we've started it now, and we're going to see it through as long as it needs to take to really get this at a place where these comments don't happen. Ideally, I know that's difficult because and they shouldn't. It's 2021. No one should be discriminating against anyone or saying these comments to anybody, whether it's racism, sexism, about any. For just going to football, for talking about football, it's a game of sport between 11 people 11 people per side, kicking a ball around trying to get in goal. It's like I say to people, it's a universal game with universal rules. Anybody can understand it. Anyone can watch it. Just let people be.
Yeah, that's the thing though. A lot of people don't understand it. They make it into a lot more than it actually is. But yeah, I'm hopeful that as my 4-year-old gets to my age, she'll hear of these campaigns being like, why? What on earth are you talking about? Although, as I said a couple of weeks ago, we're actually going off to the Sutton ladies match in a minute. But if she starts making me hold dollies to miss goals, she's never coming again. I think Mum's coming to this one, so Mum can hold the damn dollies. Thank you so much. I didn't want to get you to feel like you're on your soapbox. You came in.
No,
it's such an important
honestly.
thing to talk about, and it's one of those things of the message has got to keep coming out all the time, slowly, because it is something that's happening, and perhaps maybe we change one or two people thinking to go, oh, actually, you know what, I'm going to hold my hands up here and say that wasn't my best. And I think that's the important thing as well, is if you are, I don't want to use the word accused, but if someone says you've said something that makes them feel uncomfortable, I would be hugely defensive. Absolutely, 100%. I'm not going to like that because I don't like the idea of upsetting people. But you've got to take it to learn. You've got to take it to go away and go, do you know what? Yeah. Okay, let me think about this. Let me come back to it and learn to be a better person. Oh my God, I sound like such a zealot. No, you've been wonderful, guys. It's been really nice to talk to you. And hopefully the campaign goes from strength to strength. I will support where I can and do as much as I can.
Keep up the good work, Lucy.
Thank you.
But hopefully your season for Bristol Rovers is going to go well, apart from Saturday and the 12th, I think it was, the 15th, sorry. So hopefully the season goes well, apart from those 2 days where we'll have 6 points. Thank you very much. And enjoy your non-league next week. It's nice to go to non-league. We're still non-league, but we happen to be in the Football League. So thank you guys. Thank you for your time, guys. Thank everyone for listening. And obviously, any comments, hit me up on any socials at Sutton Podcast. And take care. We will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
United!